start recording, and then I will be right back if one of you wants to share a spiritual thought.
Cool. I can do the spiritual thought. Okay, cool. So the other day we were in class and we were talking about being guided by the Holy Ghost. And one kid brought up the point, how do you know if it's the Holy Ghost, or how do you know if it's just something that you're thinking? And our teacher talked about Gordon B. Hinckley, how he answered the question. And he just turned to Moroni chapter 10, and he says, Moroni 10, verse 6, it says, "And whatsoever thing is good is just and true. Wherefore nothing that is good denieth the Christ, but acknowledgeth that he is. And ye may know that he is by the power of the Holy Ghost. Wherefore I would exhort you that ye deny not the power of God, for he worketh by power, according to the faith of the children of men, the same today and tomorrow and forever." And so it just made me realize that even if we do have our own thoughts and we may not recognize if they're of the Holy Ghost, we should just follow them anyways, because that's the way God works. Anything that's good is going to come from God, and anything that's evil is going to come from the devil. So as long as we just follow good principles and go in that direction, then we'll be following the Spirit. And I say that in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Cool. So I'm just going to pull up what we're supposed to talk about. Yes. All right, so I guess we're going to talk about some of the key elements into the Cake business model, like customer value proposition, the market plan, technology and operation strategy, and cash flow formula. So I don't know if we each want to take one of those and we'll talk about it. Are you guys opening to the group discussion what we're supposed to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay.
For customer value proposition, basically it was making a software platform that would help investors have the tools that they need to make better decisions.
Right. That way everything would be in one place and they could see where all their money's going and how it's invested. Exactly.
Yeah. And they could also get recommendations. And though he wanted to also provide that they could see other people's portfolios, that didn't quite work out.
Yeah. Cool. So I think their market plan was entering that market and getting all types of investors, like the active daily traders, people who just buy and hold, and there was another group. But that was their market plan, is to get money from advertising, from subscriptions, and from users. And the way they wanted to do it, like you said, Shayla, is just having them open up publicly all of their investments and see how they're doing, so that way they could compare them with other investors and see how they could improve and how they could, I guess, make their investments more profitable.
Yeah.
Cool.
These all kind of run into each other.
Yeah. Seriously.
So pretty much they needed to figure out all the back end stuff for technology and operations management. So they needed to have ways to collect the data. And I don't know, what else did they need for the technology and operations management?
So I think they had to build that whole platform where they could take everybody's information, and they had to code that, so it took them a while to come up with that.
Yeah, and they chose not to use a third party for collecting data. They decided to do it themselves because they felt like they could do it better.
Sorry guys, I'm like catching up on this.
You're good, dude.
I didn't have it installed. So how are we doing this? Are we just going over this verbally, or is someone writing this down?
Well, this part we're just supposed to go over, and then I think we just answer those other 2 questions.
Yeah.
For the Word document, is that right?
Yeah,
So I think we just discuss the group part, and then there's 2 questions we're supposed to answer in a Word document. Does everyone agree with that?
Looks like it. Where are the 2 questions?
They're in a different spot. I don't.
Okay. And it's a summary, right? Like we're doing like a summary. Is that part of the?
Yeah, so first we have the group discussion, and then we have, sorry, I'm trying to find it.
Right, 2 convincing responses to the following questions.
Yeah.
Okay. I can try and keep notes best we can, and maybe it'll be easier to just drag and drop into some sort of summary question.
Okay.
Yeah, compose your responses in a Word document. Maybe I can create a Google Doc or something real quick.
Okay.
Sorry, it's like an hour earlier here in California, so it's 7:40.
Oh, gotcha.
So I'm just warming everything up for today.
You're good, dude.
Okay. Okay, so beginning, so who thought it was a promising business model? Or I guess we didn't talk about the cash flow formula.
Yeah. Is the cash flow formula the one where Carpenter talked about he projected to have, what was it, like $82 million in revenue, and it was like part of it was from advertising, lead generations, and sponsorships. Is that the cash flow?
Yeah, and data licensing fees.
Okay.
Premium services and funding.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
That's
somewhere in Exhibit 3.
So basically, you needed to get a lot of traffic in order to be successful in that area. Okay, so I guess now we're supposed to discuss whether it was a promising business model, starting with those who think it's promising.
I feel like it started out as promising, just with the way that he had it set up. Was to kind of work his site with those few different things that Trevor just mentioned.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it had a lot of potential, and it really could have been good.
I just feel like it was like bad timing because what really cracked down on it was like going through the middle of the recession. Like right when he was starting up was when a lot of other companies were shutting down, so it was hard to get any sort of companies wanting to be like have ads or sponsorships on his site. So he wasn't going to be able to get that revenue coming from that. But the services, they're great services. It was just the way that he had his financial model set up where, like, especially in 2008, 3,000 of the 7,000 was supposed to come in just from advertising and sponsorships on the site. But I feel like it was just bad timing for the startup of his company, just because of how America was going through all of the recession and stuff like that.
I agree. It was bad timing, and I think he also should have not focused on the social aspect of it. I don't think that the market was ready to necessarily share that information. It was kind of a new territory. So I think that should have been something he started with later, like added it and like slowly worked it in as he saw that people were interested in it.
I agree with that. Also, the fact that it was a $20 billion industry that U.S. consumers spent on advice. And the way that he was going to tap into that was basically through advertising, and which that alone was a $2.7 billion industry right there. So in my opinion, the market share was pretty big. He could just take a little portion of that and he would do just great.
Yeah. Okay, so who felt Cake was doomed from the start? Anyone?
I just sent the Google Doc link to everyone, by the way.
Okay.
In that email, the string that we've been doing. Okay, Cake was doomed at the start.
Nobody feels doomed.
I guess not. We've already discussed the next part some, but we're just supposed to discuss his approach to the opportunity and what he could have done differently.
Okay. Let's see.
Like for the social aspect of it, I thought if he could have done something similar to what Rent the Runway had done, and found ways to test the market. I know he felt like there weren't ways, but to do something this new and to see if people really wanted it. He knew they wanted to be able, valued advice from family and friends, but he didn't know that they wanted to share their portfolio information with family and friends. And I think that really should have been something that was tested to find ways to see that people actually would be interested in doing that.
Yeah, I still feel like even now people are afraid to like say what money they have where, like how much they're earning off of certain things. So even now that social aspect, like if there's some sort of anonymity where you don't have to like use your name, where Cake they did use usernames, so somewhat protected. But still feel like even now there's not much going for like sharing your investments with your family and friends and comparing and stuff like that. Because money is just such like a tight subject for so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah, sharing that kind of stuff was tough. He tried to bring people in to see if it was going to be a good idea, right? He had like the Craigslist ads, didn't he? And he'd bring people like into the office pretty frequently.
Yeah.
But I think he was testing usability more than he was testing like viability for the idea.
Yeah.
So that didn't really work when it came to big picture profitability and stuff. I don't know. They say Cake was doomed. I don't know if doomed is the right word because he was able to sell out, and I don't know if he lost all that money that they invested. I feel like it just became a different sort of product than he imagined.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because he talked about how he might want to shut it down because he knew it wasn't going to reach $1 billion worth of, like a sellout. But at the same time, like there are very few companies that reach that threshold where they can actually sell it for $1 billion. And so the fact that he was able to gross like what was it, $50 million his last year, that says a huge thing about him as an entrepreneur and the way that he grew it. He did have some good like VCs behind him making that happen, but the fact that he was able to pivot so much and find out what was working and what wasn't working, and bring on the right people, that says a lot about making a successful company, in my opinion.
Yeah. I really like the system that he set up and the back end doing everything. What he saw that there was trouble with other companies and he had experience with like Yieldly. Hopefully I said that right. Anyway, he saw how to do it better. And he built a cleaner and more reliable way to access data. Mm-hmm. But actually, I thought at that point, I wondered if he should have pivoted and actually provided, he could have still provided the system, but also maybe he could have provided a service like Yodlee for data collection, because he seemed to build that really well and do that really well.
True.
That was a strong point, yeah.
All right. Where are we at now? Like on the discussion, is that still in question 3?
Does anybody else have anything to add to what he should have done?
Can't think of anything.
Okay.
So we on number 4 now.
Yeah.
As a group, identify the main reason for Cake's failure. Was it out of Stephen's control? What low-cost experiment could he have done to test the assumptions?
I kind of had a thought when I was reading this, and it was just like maybe he should have gotten his money from different sources. Like he got good venture capitalist money, but maybe he should have been getting it from like potential and like users type thing. Like maybe he should have been going to like Wall Street Journal or Investopedia and getting them to invest in him, and then like they would have been able to set him up with good contacts and good users. And then what was the second half of that? To test the assumption. Oh yeah, just sending out like a mailer, like a email thing saying, hey, would you use this, and why or why not, and just send that up to a bunch of average Americans that fit like his little criteria, like people with money to invest that need help investing it.
Yeah, or even like you said, going to like Wall Street Journal, if they post like an article about this new investing site or whatever, investing company that allows you to like compare and like go through other people's investments so that you can like learn more for yourself and whatnot, and like give them the site so they can go try it and like share in the article that there's possibilities for investments with the site. So that gets people who actually care about maybe using this site excited about the opportunity that they would have to like invest and maybe own a small share of the company at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really would have had to find some way to test that people were willing to share their financial portfolios with their friends and family. I'm not sure how he would do that with test groups or something to see their willingness, like that they would actually do it.
Yeah, because he assumed in his like models that like 1/5 of all new users